Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now new customers, when you sign up using promo code DNVR, you place a $5 bet, any $5 bet on Super Bowl 57. And when that wins, you get $200 in free bets instantly. That's code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons, and joining me today is a frequent favorite of the DNVR Rockies podcast and Rockies community, Mr. Kenneth Weber of Purple Row. What's going on, Kenneth?
Not too much, man. Favorite might be a little bit generous, but I'm an attendee right now of the podcast, so I'm doing good.
You've got a lot of honorable mention ribbons and participation trophies.
It's like my sports career.
Yeah, that's good. And it's like, you know, any kind of fair or carnival you go to, if you collect enough of those, you can get like real awards and cash it in for something.
Yeah, I'm building up for the stuffed animal, the DNVR stuffed teddy bear.
That's it. A Nuxie. That's it. We've got our very own knucklehead. We have plenty to talk about with spring training right around the corner. Less than a week for pitchers and catchers reporting, and we'll discuss, you know, what prospects we need to keep an eye on, because that's going to be one of the fun things in spring. It was fun last year when Tovar really broke out to start to imagine what if, and by the end of that year, he was there. So we'll talk about that. The camp battles, because there's a lot of them, probably a lot more than I can remember in years past. It seemed like pretty much most of the roster was settled. And I think for the most part, a lot of the starting spots are settled, but there seems like the entire bench is up for grabs. A couple spots in the rotation, maybe only a few spots in the bullpen. We'll talk about that, but let's talk about the news of the day that just broke. San Diego Padres, big signing. Tim Lopes signs to a minor league deal. Rockies lose another player, another minor league free agent to the San Diego Padres once again. Kenneth, your thoughts on this?
It's big if true.
It is true. Tim Lopes is a Padre.
Yeah.
He's going to be, he'll be with the, I'm sure I'll be at the El Paso Chihuahuas. Nice depth piece pickup for the Padres. It was a nice one for the Rockies. He was in camp there at the spring. But no, the real big signing for the San Diego Padres, Darvish, 6 years, $108 million.
Okay.
Nice little extension there. My initial thought in the 2 seconds ago that it just happened, that I saw it on Twitter from everyone, including Ken Rosenthal, that seems low for him. And then I started doing some more thinking. But what are your initial reactions? 6 years, $108 million for Darvish and the Padres.
I mean, Darvish is a little polarizing, because you think about his time with the Cubs, and the Padres were essentially able to buy low because he kind of fell flat a little bit there for a while. So you think of Darvish as the ace, and there's that caliber that's existed with him for most of his career, but he's also had some pretty big downfalls. The Cubs tenure wasn't great. He rebuilt his stock a little bit. His time with the Dodgers as a rental really kind of fell hard. I mean, that was one of the scapegoats, so to speak, for the Dodgers losing that series. So I think it's good for both sides. At the end of the day, I think it gives a little bit of a security blanket if Darvish does take a step down and does become a little bit less reliable. And also, I mean, he's no spring chicken. He's not, the 27-year-old Darvish that broke into the league. He's, well into his 30s at this point. So I think it gives him some security, and I think it also gives the Padres a little bit of that, okay, we have a top to middle of the rotation guy that we know is going to be around for these next couple of years. So I think it works on both sides. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Seems like a win-win for both parties. Yeah, as you mentioned, Darvish, I started to think, well, he has been around for a while. He seems youthful about him. I don't know what it is, but, I mean, he debuted in 2012, which, all right, that's a little more than 10 years ago. But if you come up young, then you're going to still be on the young side, if you will, even though it's the wrong side of 30, debuted about age 25 with Texas. But last year had 194 and 2/3 innings pitched. That was his most since his second year in the league at 26 years old. So he hasn't been terribly durable, I would say. His last 4 years were durable. It's hard to contextualize that 2020 season. He made 12 starts, so I think that was probably just about every single one. So he's going back to 2019. He's probably in the top 10, top 15 in most innings pitched. So he's been durable in that sense. But I think the fact that he is a little bit older does make it curious. That does mean 6 years at $108 million. That means what? That takes him to his age 40 season. It's about maybe $18 million per year, and it goes back to everything with the Xander Bogaerts deal, everything with the Trey Turner deal, from the offseason, everything that Carlos Correa was going to get, whereby you add on years at the end and probably $1 million or $2 million here and there. Because, again, if you're negotiating that deal, I would love to be a fly on the wall to see what those negotiations are like. Because you say, okay, here's the base deal, this many years for this much money. Well, you know what? And I imagine Scott Boras uses this as a bargaining chip. Well, you know what? If you want to throw us, another $5 million for each year after my client's age 39 season, go ahead and tack that on, because that's going to be better for the team. It lowers that average annual value. And again, it's a win-win for both the player as well as the team.
Yeah, I mean, in some situations, that's not really applicable. But with the way...
Superstar guys only.
Well, it's superstar guys only, but also teams that are really flirting with that luxury tax threshold.
True.
And that's where the Padres have positioned themselves. So if you're talking about the Rockies and the Chris Bryant deal, how you structure it is to kind of make everybody happy, but there's no real consequences other than you might, have a kind of Charlie Blackmon situation now where it's like, okay, he's not producing to what his pay is. But overall, the structure of the deal is a little inconsequential. When you look at the way that the Padres have to do it, they just gave this mega deal out to Xander Bogaerts. They are now able to secure Yu Darvish, but they still have to go out and pay Juan Soto, and they're still going to be probably looking at having to sign Manny Machado or watch him walk. You have the Tatis deal, which, there's so much that has come out since then that it's almost easy to forget, but that's one of the largest contracts in baseball and sports history, really. So the Padres had to get a little creative to make sure that they weren't costing themselves more money with this Darvish extension. It might be a little modest in the, grand scheme of things, but how they structured this was going to make a big impact on how well they can retain a Machado, a Soto, and fill out the rest of their roster as these years go along. So, again, the more I think about it, and I didn't know squat about this until we sat down.
I dropped it on you the last second.
Yeah. It's not nearly as bad as what you made me think it might be at the beginning.
Well, I made you think it was some kind of scandal, perhaps.
Yeah.
The big Darvish news. What possible news could there be for this guy?
No. How big is this
still
bomb?
On a roster. Yeah. It's an interesting extension. I think Blake Snell is a free agent after this year. They've got a couple, and they've got all of these guys, as you mentioned, with Manny Machado, with these unique contracts that are less and less unique. It's kind of become somewhat of an industry of, it's a short-term deal, but it can be even shorter. So there's like an opt-out after year one. So they have so many of those guys and all of those kind of pieces that you say, you know what, we need to be a little bit cautious. We need some insurance. Let's bring Darvish back. And again, the spending is not going to end anytime soon.
Can't.
Yeah.
They push their chips all in. So this is what you do when you're all in. And so like with some of the attention with Dick Monfort's quotes and regarding the Padres, we don't do that. There's going to be some ramifications for the way that they're going about this. Look at their fan fest. Look at the enthusiasm that has been garnered from the way that the Padres are going about it. Will it work is the big question, because ultimately this has to lead in a championship. Beating the Dodgers isn't just enough anymore. They climbed that hill and now it's reaching for the peak. But this reminds me a lot of how the Tigers operated through the 2010s, where we're going to keep on making the biggest splashes we can to put us in the best position possible to win a championship. And it didn't work for those Tigers, but I mean,
they got 2 World Series appearances in a short amount of time. There was actually really only one in the 2010s. Magglio Ordonez, Victor Martinez. To your point.
Well, you can stretch it to 2006, I think it was, when they lost to the Cardinals. So maybe you do a 10-year period from 2005 to 2015. Right. And so the World Series, the American League Championship had to go through Detroit. At the very least, that's what you ask for as a fan, is a sustained period of highly competitive baseball. And that's what the Padres are bringing right now. So good on them. I think that this also gives them Musgrove and Darvish as, okay, we start there with the rotation. That's a fine starting point. So I dig it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And, I know Susie's been talking the last week, would you rather, win one championship and then, you're really bad forever, or would you, better to be somewhat middling and just kind of hope for something? The Padres have not been a very good franchise.
Historically.
They've been really, really bad. I mean, two World Series. I mean, that's it. 1984 and 1998.
98.
I think that's it, you know? So they've been really bad in that market, and now they're trying something different. They've acknowledged, okay, everything we've done in the past kind of hasn't worked. Let's do something different. And the Padres are very much, and they don't. I don't know. I don't know that there's an official database out there or any kind of an official line of demarcation for what teams are tanking, which teams weren't. But the Padres were tanking.
Sure.
I don't know that they got to like a consistent 100 loss season type situation, but when AJ Preller took over, they acquired a bunch of guys, Matt Kemp, both the Upton brothers, Craig Kimbrell, right? They a nice little trade of Derek Norris, who was a pretty good hitting catcher at the time with the Oakland Athletics. It didn't work, and then they quickly turned around and traded all those assets off, and then they had to reset, and it was all about, well, let's wait until we get good again here in the next 4 or 5 years. Then we'll bring back the brown and yellow, and now they've got the swag. And so they are a product of tanking because they identified we need to try something different to make it work. And so far, you have to say it's been working. They haven't won the World Series. They haven't gone. Well, I mean, they were in the NLCS last year. So it's been a short window of contention so far. But you look at the roster and go, well, they're going to still have a good, solid window of contention for 5 seasons or so. And it would be obviously, I think, a disappointment to their franchise if they don't get, let's say, even a World Series appearance. But compared to what they had been in the past, going to the postseason 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 is unlike anything they've ever done. And it's interesting when you think about the Rockies too, because in 2017 and 18, they went to back-to-back postseasons for the first time in their franchise history. They did that on the heels of signing Ian Desmond, who I know gets a lot of criticism. And in 2018, the super bullpen, over $100 million on those 3 guys. But that bullpen did lead them to the postseason in 2018. So I think for the Padres and Padres fans, or even just baseball pundits, they're going to look at the Padres and say, this is how much money they spent. Did they get as much out of it as they should? Maybe not. But was it a bad strategy? No. Just like, was it a bad strategy throwing all that money at those players in 17 and 18? It didn't work out how you would have hoped. But if you don't make those moves, you don't have back-to-back postseasons here in Colorado.
Most likely. I think that the Rockies were just a little delusional on that being what put them over the top. Because, I mean, the backbone at the end of the day for the back-to-back playoff appearances was the infield. And the infield was Story, Arenado, LeMahieu, along with a primarily homegrown good pitching staff, relatively speaking, for the history of the Rockies of Freeland, Marquez, Gray. So the Rockies accomplished those back-to-back playoff appearances through what they developed, while the Padres, and you talk about, having that prolonged period of tanking, they didn't really hit on a lot of those draft picks during that period because it's basically stemmed from 2007. The Padres got knocked out of the playoffs, and then they didn't go back again until 2020, I think the bubble year. They didn't really hit on a lot of those big draft picks during that period, which forced them to have to spend their way back into competitiveness, which is what they've done for the most part. The Rockies were the antithesis of that. They were able to develop a Story, develop an Arenado. They also, had Tulowitzki during that period. But the Ian Desmond, the super bullpen, was supposed to put them over the top. That was supposed to make them into those title contenders. And I think that's where the criticism can lie for the Rockies in that period. And it goes to show how each has carried their mentalities to this day. The Padres have continued to try to go over the top for the things that they haven't been able to develop, while the Rockies have kind of just tried to keep on developing internally, saying, oh, these are the pieces, the Veens, the Tovars. When they come up, you're going to be a believer. And so it's interesting to see that the different courses that they have taken. And San Diego really just aggressively went to, okay, we're just going to spend our way out of this hole a little bit.
I love where this conversation is right now because there are other differences, too, between the Padres and Rockies scenario.
Mostly brown.
Yes. But a lot of those draft picks and a lot of those international free agent signings by the Padres, you're right. You go back and look and like, what kind of careers have they had? Maybe it's still young. But what the Padres did so well that the Rockies have yet to embrace, and now is the time for them to embrace it. We've started to see it a little bit. The Padres were able to identify, look, these young guys are great, and they're on these top 100 lists, and we've got a really deep system. They traded them away. They used them as assets to make their big league club better. So those prospects did make the big league club better directly themselves, but their value did. And that was something I think that also helped bridge that gap. And then as far as the Rockies and, not really having that longer window of contention after 2017 and 2018, 2019, they were in the wild card spot there as late as like June 21st, something like that. It might have even been July, but they were there for that. And you can even look at the roster in 2020 and said, they could have, well, definitely with the postseason format, they could have snuck in, but they stopped. They stopped short. They spent on Ian Desmond. Okay, that was nice for that offseason. That was a piece. That gave you a step up. You're right, it wasn't a game changer. They signed the Super bullpen. Probably should have been more of a game changer than it was. It gave them a step up, at least for 18. Then what happened? They balked at paying DJ LeMahieu his money. They balked at a 4 or 5 year extension for LeMahieu. You bring him back, that changes everything. Now maybe you trade Brendan Rodgers and you're able to acquire a guy like JT Realmuto, which was part of the conversation at that point. And then in the 2019-2020 offseason, you go out and you sign, another player. Again, it doesn't have to be huge. Gerardo Parra is one of the best free agent signings in franchise history. Yeah. And he wasn't a huge signing. So they stopped short. It's like they had a plan and they said, all right, we're going to try to make it work within this 24-month period. And we're going to go all in for 24 months. But that's not really going all in. You've got to have a much longer runway for a plan like that to really come to fruition.
Yeah, I think the best comp that where the Rockies put themselves and the restraints that they place on their operation is the Kansas City Royals during the 2010s. Because when the time came, you acquired Ben Zobrist, you acquired Johnny Cueto, you acquired James Shields, Wade Davis. I mean, and so the Rockies, first on the LeMahieu side of it, you have to make a choice. Brendan Rodgers looks ready. Brendan Rodgers is giving you all the hallmarks and earmarks of this guy is going to be a major league starter, and he is ready to get the opportunity to do it. And he plays the exact same position as DJ LeMahieu, plus you have money coming up that you're going to have to pay to one or both of Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado. That's on the horizon. Do you...
Which they did to neither of those guys.
Well, Arenado, sort of. I mean,
sort, yes, right. He does get an asterisk and an S, sort of, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they made sure everybody knew that he signed, but when it came to actually paying him over the long run, that was a different story. So, if you're not going to move a Brendan Rodgers to acquire a Realmuto and push all in for that period, then you have to make the hard decision of moving on from a DJ LeMahieu. What really sucks in hindsight about it is DJ LeMahieu and Daniel Murphy signed for the exact same contract. Yeah. LeMahieu becomes a dude with the Yankees, and Murphy is poopy. Ultimately, I mean, he's somebody that again, it's a delusional. This guy will put us over the top. This guy will fix first base, and he's going to give us good production. He wasn't.
LeMahieu, dude. Murphy, he pooped.
Dud.
I was going for a rhyme.
Right there.
We went alliterative. Dud, dude. I went dude, pooed. But it's all good. Look, it's all good here at the DNVR bar, especially when you are a diehard, because you're getting 15% off your tab, 20% off DNVRlocker.com, as well as 20% off any of our tailgates, party buses that we've got going on. It's fantastic. Extra raffle tickets, access to the diehards only discourse. It's the place to be. TheDNVR.com. You're getting all kinds of stuff. And we got stuff behind the paywall as well, but not when you are a diehard. Look, Kenneth, I gotta do this on you. How you liking my new shades? These are courtesy of Shady Rays. Look at these bad boys.
Sharp is the first word that comes to mind.
Sharp.
That is sharp.
Especially
with the cap.
That was Shady Rays rejected that name when they were workshopping it. Sharp Shades. That came in second. At least it should have been. At least that's my story. And I'm sticking to it. These bad boys are built to last. Like, these are proper outfield glasses. I mean, I'm robbing a couple home runs with these bad boys on.
Dude, I mean, so you're looking good on camera, first of all. You step up to the plate with that, or they just do that pan to the outfield. See you throwing seeds from your back pocket into your mouth. You're looking good the entire way.
Yeah, and none of those seeds are going in my eyes because, again, I got the sweet Shady Rays. It's the independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair that I've ever worn. Durable frames, extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. Got in about 40 miles over 5 days on my feet. 60% was running, 40% was walking around down in Austin. And when I was running, had these bad boys on. They were fantastic. Had bats flying all over in my face, but I didn't have to worry because these bad boys, the Shady Rays, came through. And if I had broken them or I'd lost them, it wouldn't have mattered because even on day one, Shady Rays lets you know that they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked if you happen to lose or break them. If you don't love them, you can also exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. No risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. We know that we've got yours and you've got ours exclusively for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the year. Go to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR or visit them in store at the Park Meadows Mall for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 folks. Have you ever had to swat away any bats while you were running before?
No. I mean, so definitely not anatomical bats. If we're talking about maybe, somebody lets one fly from the on-deck circle, there might have been an instance or two on that.
Bat shard, yes.
Yeah.
Largest bat colony in like all of North America is in Austin.
Really?
There's like 1 million that lives underneath the South Congress Bridge that's there. And they don't come back until March, these bats that typically live in Mexico. But there were still some there throughout the winter, so we saw like 3.
Okay.
You go in the summer, you see literally over 1 million, and they eat like 10,000 pounds of bugs a night.
Oh, wow.
So they provide a very good service.
They summer in Austin.
They do. Which, I mean, there are a few people that would ever dare to do that because it's hot. Even when it's 60 degrees, it's kind of muggy and gross.
Hey, it's for them, though. That brings the bugs out. When the food's good, they go and eat.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Backus and Schenker, they're not going to bug you. They're there to help you, especially if you've been hurt. They're there to help. Backus and Schenker wins for Colorado families. They're helping those who've seriously been injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. They're free until they win money in your case, so no upfront fee to speak of, just to talk with them about your case. No fee while they work on your case, and no fee unless they win your case. That means winning money for you. They've won over $1 billion for their clients.
Bless you.
And they say bless you, even when they're not here. That is the beauty of Backus and Schenker. They've got locations serving all of Colorado, including neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, and Fort Collins. They've got the strength and power to win your case with more than 30 lawyers and 100 staff. Backus and Schenker helps with all kinds of injury cases that weren't your fault. Car accidents, motorcycle accidents, rideshare, pedestrian trucks. They can help even if you've been injured at work. Call them at 222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Schenker wins. Or for the baseball fans out there, Daza Daza Daza, Tulo Tulo, Tulo Tulo. Or any other iteration that you would like.
Daza and Tulo.
You can just keep going back and forth. It's all twos. 222-2222. It's a beautiful thing. I love that. We've got news later on today, 4 p.m. MLB Network. We're gonna get at least a preliminary rosters for the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, certain things can change when guys start showing up to camp and maybe have a little hamstring issue. You got to be cautious, obviously, but we will find that out. Who's going to be on the rosters for the March 8th through 21st World Baseball Classic? I'm excited. I'm wondering if we're going to see Jonathan Daza on Team Venezuela. That was a name that hasn't gotten out there initially when I spoke with the GM and manager down at the World Baseball Classic. He was on like the outside looking in as if somebody drops out, and Ronald Acuna Jr. dropped out. So Jonathan Daza today, 4 p.m., stay tuned.
That'd be amazing.
That would be cool.
Cracking Venezuela, man, that's a tough nut to crack. That is a stacked roster. And honestly, what Daza has done to make himself such a good big leaguer really should be one of those glue guys that carries over for an event like this. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, that would be really, really exciting and cool and good for him because he deserves that type of recognition. Yeah, he would be fun. He would be great. I think that would offer him a big boost. And again, just playing with other Rockies, again, that's great. And I mean, gosh, he's been in the system at least a decade. I want to say maybe he was an international free agent signing in like 2012. Like, he's one of the longest tenured guys. And so playing with guys from other organizations in that kind of capacity could unlock a couple different things like, no one ever showed me that. Or again, you get those kind of benefits. And I think Daza would benefit from that really well. That could be cool to see. Oh, I mean, as a player, being able to be surrounded by some of the world's best players on a stage like that, there's only more benefits that you can pick up from it. But an interesting thing that just came to mind, because you brought him up earlier, I can totally see a career arc for Jonathan Daza similar to that of Gerardo Parra.
Ooh, okay.
Like as this just super fourth outfielder, well regarded anywhere he goes. He can bring energy out there. He can be a center fielder on the corners for you. And then it might not be the biggest slugging percentage in OPS, but it's going to be a reliable hitter for you. As just this really good career as a fourth outfielder that's well sought after because of what he does well. I could totally see that being the thing for him.
I like that comp. I like that. I definitely could see that. Yeah, he's obviously speaks Spanish, but has trained with Brendan Rodgers in the past, and so he gets along with everybody, and he's got a flash, but not too much flash where maybe it might put some people off. You never know, but
no, talking to him, he's just a fun guy.
I like that.
And so he's always well regarded. He's very a fun guy, and he's down to earth with everything too. Never got to interact with Gerardo Parra, but you don't get as strong of a reputation like that if you don't have those characteristics. So I think it's all there.
I like that.
Jonathan Dawson knew Gerardo Parra.
All right, and now I just want to play a game where I just throw Rockies guys at you. Like, okay, where's the arc?
We can fill 40 minutes on that.
40. There's not enough. We need more than that. I'm going everywhere. Any possible active guys. Joe Beimel still sticking around. What's the future of his career now going to look like? I mean, he's already at the end, so there's not much room there. But plenty of room in camp for so many different guys that have got non-roster invites. There's the 40-man roster. Camp battles. There's about 7 different spots here on this roster that are up for grabs, and you have 1 or 2 guys that get injured. Again, we could be looking at 10 guys that you might not have initially thought would be on this roster, or there's a lot of flexibility. Is there one, let's say, positional battle that you're kind of most interested in, or just angle on all of spring training? Because again, there's so many young guys, and I don't think any of these young guys have a guaranteed spot to be on the 26-man roster in San Diego.
No, I agree with the lack of guarantees, and Bill Schmidt had a quote earlier in the offseason that it was kind of, we created some competition for some guys.
Yeah.
I think that's true, but only to an extent. So the one that intrigues me the most, it's relegated to the backup corner infield position, specifically backup first base. And it's going to come down to Elehuris Montero and Michael Toglia. And Nolan Jones is now included in that equation, although Jones has some versatility with the outfield. I would like to have seen that be the battle for starting first base. Yeah. That's the tough part about it is, yes, there's creating some competition, but it's for a very limited role. And so it's hard to look at it and say, okay, maybe Michael Toglia shows off more in spring training and he ends up getting that, but now he's really having a diminished number of at-bats because he's not getting a full season down in AAA. Or, we went through this all last year with Elehuris Montero, where it's like, okay, can you play him? Like, you brought him up. Can you actually give him some at-bats now? And it wasn't really until September where that started coming around. And I think Jones fits exactly in that elk. So it's going to be the most interesting to see who shows off and gives the most promise. But I wish it was for more of a starting role because it doesn't feel like anything is really up for grabs on the starting side right now.
I think even if the Rockies aren't able to unload a guy like CJ Cron and they're out of it, and I mean, again, they could just hold on to him like they did with Daniel Murphy, you know, where that was, okay, is what it is. Also, they were kind of acquiring guys during that 2020 pandemic season, right?
Michael Givens was the over-the-top.
And Kevin Pillar, who no one ever remembers. He was on the roster at all. That is an all-time stumper. Just go, was Kevin Pillar ever a Rocky? He's still active. That was 3 years ago. 99% of Rockies fans will go, no, not that guy.
I think too many people remember Kevin Pillar because they use his name as ammunition against Nolan Arenado. They'll be the ones that will bring it up where it's like Pillar had some weird quote out there where he's like, yeah, the clubhouse vibes, it hasn't been as tense lately or anything like that. That's right. It's Pillar who says that, and people remember Pillar who was the one who said that. They can't picture him with a cap on. They can't picture him as a Rocky whatsoever, but they can remember him talking shit about Arenado, basically. And so that's why people remember Pillar as a Rocky.
I don't know if there's any photographs of Kevin Pillar as a Rocky. No, I'm sure there are.
Exist.
Minimal. There, I had tweeted something out from the main account, not while I was on vacation. It was a timed tweet. I work smarter, not harder. So may have seen, oh, Patrick's firing some stuff off on his vacation. Nope, I did not look at my phone at all. Totally shut down. Easy to do right now at this time of the year. But I could not find a photograph of Mark Hutton, the only Australian-born ball player in Rockies history. And then I think Kyle Cooper, responded to it like, well, it helps when you have, the entire photographic archive of the Rockies at your fingertips. So he put one out there. So now on Twitter, there is one out there available of the only Australian player for the Rockies in their history. You're right. I like that battle. Eventually, whether CJ Cron's on the roster or not, it'll be Montero and Toglia over there first base. We'll see what happens with Jones. And it kind of makes it more fun because now there's not room for both of those guys. Cron's gone. You're probably having both of them. But Jones is the interesting wrinkle because they needed to get a left-handed hitting outfield bat or just somebody that was left-handed hitting. And they got one in Nolan Jones, who was a career third baseman all throughout the minor leagues. Obviously had to move off of that because he played in the same organization as Jose Ramirez. So
kind of taken.
There's a lot of Rockies who have that same story coming up with Nolan Arenado in front of them, or a period of time once it was Troy Tulowitzki. You needed to find a new position. So with that, you got like the backup third baseman / backup first baseman, and something that I sort of have written off is an idea that, okay, so there's going to be a utility infield spot, and you go, all right, that's between Alan Trejo and now Harold Castro, a left-handed hitting bat, and you immediately go, he does have 5 years of big league experience. I think Trejo has a bigger upside, but again, we're talking about a bench piece more than anything. So Castro may have the edge. You could almost have Castro and Trejo and still only have that one backup first baseman, but now it's almost likely to not be Montero because Montero can't play the outfield. Toglia can, Nolan Jones can. So if something like that happens, that's almost another deviation of a battle where, well, if Trejo and Castro are playing really well, one of them might even move ahead of Montero on the depth chart. But at the winter meetings, Buddy and Schmidt, one of the two said, like, Montero's got nothing else to learn in the minor leagues. So I sort of feel like he's going to be guaranteed a spot. And even if, Trejo plays better than Montero, I'd understand. I'd be okay if Montero got a spot over Trejo, even if Trejo played that much better, right? And say Castro he's clearly the utility infielder who can also play some outfield. Trejo learns how to play a little bit of outfield. So you go, Castro, he's a slam dunk. He's earned the spot as the utility infielder. Well, now it's either Montero or Trejo. Again, if Trejo has a better spring, I could see the organization still going to Montero because of the potential and because of the upside that they see in his future.
Yeah, and I mean, I think by the middle of last season, it was very evident that Montero had nothing left to prove at the minor league level. And again, that was the frustration at the time of why is he not getting enough plate appearances. So I completely and wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment of there's no reason to put Montero in Albuquerque other than we don't have the room on the major league roster right now. So he should be up with the major league squad. I think it could ultimately be the odd man out situation for Toglia and Nolan Jones instead. My bigger question in this discussion is Tovar is your starting shortstop. I mean, there's nothing that hints otherwise. They're handing the job to him. They can
even
say
a bad spring. I'm like, just give it to him.
They
it's
say
fine.
They're giving him every opportunity to win it. They're giving him the job. He is going to be the starting shortstop.
Defense doesn't really slump. So you know what? He could, again, you have a bat 100.
So I have full confidence that he's going to go out there. He's at least going to be a very good defensive shortstop. He's probably going to have some learning curves that come with the offensive side of it. But you know what? For a Rockies team where the expectations are low, you live with it. However, if Tovar gets hurt, or if Tovar struggles so badly to the point that he has to move off of shortstop, he has to get some time down in AAA, is Harold Castro a shortstop? That's my big question, because the whole utility infield side means who can play up the middle, because we know Toglia, we know Jones, and we know Montero cannot play up the middle for us. So Alan Trejo has proven that he can handle shortstop responsibilities, and Bud Black alluded to we're going to give him some outfield time. Okay, he's fitting into this Garrett Hampson mold right now. Harold Castro has been known as kind of a Luis Arias light of, good contact guy. I don't think that there's enough belief in him being able to handle shortstop, though, to really give full confidence that he gets the nod over a Trejo and a Montero. And then Cole Tucker, that's the one that really needs to show up in spring training to earn that spot, because I think we have the pecking order right. If it goes Trejo, Castro, and Cole Tucker at the very bottom of the rung. Tucker could immediately elevate it, higher because he can handle up the middle defensive responsibilities. He just needs to show enough with the bat. So I think that's the intriguing bench battle side.
How about this? You have Trejo in AAA so as to not put that threat in Tovar at the big league level of, hey, if you slip up, we've got a very, quality candidate that can take your position. Whereas Castro, as you said, probably not going to be able to do on the defensive side. I believe it or not, I'm not a Harold Castro aficionado yet. Give me some time. I just got back from vacation. Give me a couple of days. I will be, but I would tend to think he might not be that. Maybe in a pinch, because again, if Tovar's just going down for a short period of time, it's not as big of a deal. You're definitely not moving Brendan Rodgers over there. Already want to go glove over at second base. He's fine. Let him stay there for stability. But really, if there is an issue with Tovar at shortstop and you want to give him a little bit of a break, a little sabbatical, go down to Albuquerque or what have you, then you make the flip. Trejo comes up from AAA. Tovar goes down to AAA. And now you don't have to deal with those questions of, so Bud, Tovar, he's doing what Brendan Rodgers did last year, slumping in April. Do you think Trejo deserves to get an opportunity every time he comes in off the bench? You're going to have to answer those questions. Tovar's going to have to hear those questions. And so maybe, just maybe, you don't want to have to deal with that whatsoever. But again, Trejo's going to be learning how to play the outfield. So maybe we see him there more. He could play every game in the outfield, and I would still have enough confidence to say Trejo is probably a better defender at shortstop than Harold Castro.
Oh, totally. So Harold Castro, just to throw this into it, has played, he has played 8 positions in his career.
He's pitched, too.
He has pitched.
A few times, actually.
How many of those 8 different positions do you think he has a positive defensive run saved in?
Pitcher, 1.
Pitcher is neutral.
Okay.
Pitcher is neutral.
So he can field his position with pretty well.
I think more than anything, they just didn't compensate for the 6 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
That he has out there.
I bet left
field and right field.
There we go.
1 and 2. Third base, -11. Shortstop, -8.
Okay.
So that kind of answers the question about it. So I think, getting back to the Rocky side of it, I think it's a disservice if you limit Alan Trejo's opportunities because you want to maximize the most out of Ezequiel Tovar. We talked about how Montero doesn't have anything left to prove in the minor leagues. Trejo's kind of getting to that point too.
Agreed.
Trejo has been good enough, and every stop that he's been in, he showed that he could take advantage of the PCL at the very least, but showed that he is at least a quad A hitter. And then you have to find out, okay, is this a major league hitter or is this a very good AAA hitter? And I think he has earned the right to have the inside track at, a bench job, that first utility guy, based off his performance in the Rockies farm system and with the major league club to this point. So I think it makes total sense that Tovar's the starting shortstop. You have Alan Trejo while also trying to get him as acquainted with center field as you possibly can, because it's essentially just planning on life after Randall Grichuk, because Grichuk's kind of the backup center fielder, unless you think Nolan Jones can do it, and I don't. So Trejo becomes more familiarized, getting center field experience while also being the safety net for Tovar. It makes the most sense to do it that way, because I don't think Harold Castro can do anything but the corners.
Yeah, he's a cornerman Castro. Mm-hmm. That's what he's known as. And we're known as the home and supporters of FOCO, of course. Our friends are the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. They've got product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. Even if you're not a Colorado fan, you can still take advantage of code DNVR for 10% off all non-presale items, even if you're getting gifts for people and you're saying maybe you're stockpiling. I know my wife and I were still in that mode of getting gifts for other people and like, hey, let's get ahead of next November and December. So let's pick up a couple things. Use code DNVR for 10% off. And if you know someone who happens to be a Padres fan somewhere else or is a Los Angeles Rams fan, look, I could go on and on with other sports teams. I know like 5 other ones. So Austin FC. There you go. Nice little
this vast knowledge.
The Verde. Look, not to show off. I know 3 other teams in different cities, but you can learn a lot more about the products at FOCO, as well as the bobbleheads that they've got. And they've got a billion different caps too. So that's a lot of fun, including a lot of different colleges and university. Again, DNVR for 10% off all non-presale items. And Kenneth, where did I go Ken there on that?
Yeah.
Kenny.
It just rolls off the tongue a little bit. No Kevins, no Keiths. That's my rule.
Yeah, that's I'm a Patrick, and I tell people, "Hi, I'm Patrick," and they go, "Nice to meet you, Pat." And I go, "But that's not what I said."
But no,
I let it go, and so I appreciate because I don't know too many Kenneths, and I know plenty of Kennys, but no Kenneth. So I appreciate that.
I feel distinguished saying it. Whether or not I actually am is totally besides the point.
Do you have a distinguished location for watching the big game on Sunday? I know you'll be on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 57. But have you got your day planned out, what you'll be doing?
I do for the most part, except for they're throwing a hockey game at me that they're really pushing that I attend. So
Adult men's leagues.
Yeah, so it might be missing the first half by playing hockey. I'm trying to get out of it. Sorry, Adrian, but
there you go.
Otherwise, I do have my plan set.
Your voice sounds a little hoarse. Are you coming down with something?
Yeah.
I think it might be
a little backed up.
Yeah, all the Super Bowl action you need over on DraftKings Sportsbooks. $5 bet on anything for new customers. And if it wins, you get $200 in free bets instantly. It's pretty sweet. Plus, all new customers can get on the Super Bowl 57 excitement with the DraftKings Happy Hour Super Boost. This is pretty neat. Check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're talking 4 to 7 p.m. here in Mountain Standard Time to see what prop bets will be boosted. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DNVR. New customers can bet $5 on any Super Bowl 57 bet. And if it wins, $200 in free bets instantly, only on DraftKings Sportsbook and only with code DNVR. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. That boost there, the happy hour boost, is what I'm going to be taking advantage of because my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week we've been talking about it a lot the last couple weeks. I like the national anthem one, the time of that, the color of the Gatorade that's going to be coming out. They have a new novelty prop bet for jersey number. The combined jersey number of all touchdown scorers or the jersey number of the first touchdown scorer. I like that.
That's cool.
I like that a lot. That's actually the one I'm going with. Over 11.5.
Yeah.
So if someone scores a touchdown that wears a number 11.6, and I don't know the rosters off the top of my head. Kenneth, do you know anyone in Kansas City? You probably watched a lot more Broncos games than me. Who wears a number 11.6 or 11.7 or 11.8 for Kansas City? Because if they score a touchdown, you win.
So
do you know who
we're
scores?
Going over 11.5, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Travis Kelce. That's the first name that I pulled up.
Was he 11.8 or 11.9? What's his number?
87. He's
a whole number.
Slightly above the mark.
Okay. All right. Do you know anyone with a good 11 point number that's bigger than 5? 11.72. Also bigger than 11.5. You would win on that. Nobody. No hot takes for you on that one? No hot takes for me. I'm showing off my decimal knowledge, but that's what I'm going with my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week over 11.5. So 12 or higher. Yeah. Travis Kelce. Come on. Yeah. That's going to be the one. Plus 105. Lock that bad boy in.
Kansas City has one receiver, and it's very high over 11.5. So.
Yeah. And then I lose my bet. Don't say that. I don't like that. Opening day starter is an interesting mini camp battle. I don't know if there's anything that much to say about it right now. It's between Freeland. It's between Marquez.
Sure.
Both those guys, and again, we'll learn a little bit more later today. I mean, they're going to be gone for part of camp. We'll see how long they'll be out for pitching with the Team USA and Team Venezuela, respectively, for the World Baseball Classic. But that's a fun little mini battle. I don't know that we see that much of the battle. It'll just be, here's who gets it, right? Like there won't be much debate. Whatever Bud Black says goes, and we won't say, this person deserved it more than that. They're equal down the line. The tail of the tape, they're pretty balanced. They both have 2 opening day starts. Whoever gets the nod will be the first starter in Rockies history to start 3 times on opening day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool little tidbit. I didn't know we had a 3-time opening day champion.
If it's one of those 2 guys, it'll be 3.
It has to
There's
be.
9 other guys who've had 2 opening day starts. So this is the tiebreaker. And Kyle Kendrick.
Yeah. No, I mean, it feels like Freeland would have the inside track just from the better year.
I think so, too.
He stabilized a little bit, and I think there's a little bit of sentimentality with Freeland getting the opening day nod, especially after Black gave it to him the first time. A lot of this year from the Rockies' perspective is banking on Marquez getting back on track.
Yeah.
Like so much of this, especially because you consider that you're now going to have the team option that you're going to be looking at in 2024 that you kind of need to start seeing that yeah, we're for sure slam dunk team option on it. So if he does perform, maybe they reward him for that. But it feels like Freeland. It's not quite as much fun as it was when you had Gray, Freeland, Marquez, and Senzatella, and it's just like, hey, this is a pretty big bag to pull.
You could go anywhere. You can make the case for any of them.
Yeah, it's down to 2.
It's definitely 4th and 5th starter. Austin Gomber and Ryan Feltner are kind of the 2 incumbents as we wait for Antonio Senzatella. Got an article over at the DNVR.com kind of highlighting all of these things. Do you see any dark horse kind of slotting in there? We know Peter Lambert and Ryan Rollison are those names that are out there, but Lambert, I mean, is he going to be able to go 32 times? And would you rather just say, yeah, we'll slot you in, we'll give you a nice, kind of softer opening down in AAA, get some innings underneath you, manage those innings, and then, we hope that you can join the rotation at some point, depending on what happens.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much going to be Feltner or Gomber unless something crazy happens. I don't know.
And so, I mean, the part that makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth, this is assuming Jose Urena is the number 3, right?
Yeah, and also you shouldn't go play hockey on Sunday if you put your mouth a little bit. Again, definitely
no,
not.
so okay, so you're going to have
Urena's a horse. According to Dick Momfort, he's a horse. He said, we've got 3, maybe 4 horses. Senzatella, Marquez, Freeland. I guess Urena is the 4th horse, right?
I mean, he's a horse that puts up a 6.5 ERA at home pretty consistently. So I don't know. That's beside the point. You know that Jose Urena is in that equation. I think, one, they need to figure out what they're doing with Austin Gomber. This needs to kind of be decided whether you're going to put him into that starting role or whether we're going to lean into the bullpen side of it. And I think that will ultimately lead to what they decide to do with Ryan Rollison. And so Rollison and Gomber, because you were right that Peter Lambert and Ryan Rollison are the perpetual pitching depth names for the Rockies. And whether or not one of them comes to fruition and breaks camp with the Major League squad, it kind of feels like one of them has to. From that, it's either Gomber or it's Rollison. It makes the most sense to me that you do Gomber, and Feltner has earned his spot. We can pencil him as 4, column 4.
I think so.
It doesn't matter, but I think so. Feltner showed enough last year and is durable enough that he earned that spot. Gomber, if you just pick a lane, put him in the starting rotation, give it that one more chance, and then you put Ryan Rollison to build him up the same way we talked about building up Peter Lambert down in Albuquerque. Rollison needs to be built up too. And I think putting him as the long man, putting him as that extra lefty in the bullpen to go with Suter and to go with Gilbreth seems like the right play to me. But they got to figure out what they want Austin Gomber to be this season, and they need to try to do it early.
So I like your idea there with Gomber and Rollison. I actually think you could see a reverse for the same thing with Lambert. Keep his innings down. I think you could see Ryan Rollison. He would be a great long reliever candidate. Mm-hmm. He's the long reliever. Hey, that's going to go put those innings on. He's still yet to make his debut after his 2018, where he was fantastic, and then he started off the year incredibly solid, and I think he just had like 2 starts in High A, which off the top of my head, I have no idea where the heck they played. It must have been Lancaster at that point.
Sounds right.
Trying to do all that math after they reconfigured the minor leagues, and then he goes to Hartford and then was really solid. It was like we could see him late in the game and in the bullpen as a lefty guy in 2019. They were in the hunt, and here we are in 2023. He's still yet to debut because of those injury issues. So that will be interesting to see what happens with the rotation. We talked a little bit about utility, infield, outfield, and Trejo. Adding the outfielder's mitt to his bag of tricks. And then again, the final outfield, final infield spot, how much of it do you think is going to come down to the fact, can you hit left-handed or not?
Yeah.
Because Sean Bouchard cannot, and he doesn't really play infield anymore. He was drafted as like a second base, third baseman. I'm sure he might be able to pick up, first base. So he's got some of those instincts on the dirt. Yeah. I think he could. So that'll be an indicator. If you don't see Bouchard over at first base, that could be hard, unless I'm misreading the situation. Again, you need some left-handed hitting bats. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I think it makes it a little bit harder for a guy like Montero, who's, only can do the corners on the infield. If you can hit left-handed, I think that's going to give you a little bit of an advantage going forward, potentially.
I mean, this has been, the Rockies have been too dominated in their lineup and overwhelmingly right-handed for a long time now.
Yeah.
It's okay to have, one primary side. I mean, there's just more righties than lefties in the world, so that's the way it works. But it's basically only been Charlie Blackmon for like 4 years. Like, that's the left-handed hitter that we have. And so they need to find some way to kind of counterbalance that a little bit. And I think that's what brings like Harold Castro into the conversation the most, is you just need somebody that can go from the other side of the plate against a right-handed pitcher, because WRC plus over the past 4 years, they finished 29th, 30th, 29th, and 27th. Like against right-handed pitchers. That's pretty bad splits. You need some lefties in there to just throw out against a righty specifically.
I love the comments we're getting here from our homie AJ, who was on the show yesterday. He can't get enough. Has a horse that doesn't run. Yeah. So you know what? Look, at worst, the Rockies will have a nice glue factory. You know what I mean? Adding one back into downtown.
Dark.
Yeah. Oh, boy. What are you going to do? I do also like this comment. Again, if you want to join us every day, pretty much at 11. Tomorrow on Friday's show, we will be back at 11 a.m. as well. Not sticking around here late on a Friday night. I got an early bedtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to get up early even on Saturdays.
He's partying. He doesn't have early bedtime.
I'm lame like that. But on the DNVR Sports channel over on YouTube, I'm as curious as many people. The comments, and Kenneth, I know you've written about this a little bit over on the Purple Row. We'll have to link that article to this podcast. Do some amazing writing for Purple Row. Just what are your thoughts when the owner is talking like a general manager? On one hand, you go, he's paying attention, which is good. Also, just left of center on a couple things. Again, some of it I think might have to do with parroting what other people are telling him.
Totally.
Is Veen a center fielder? He wants to say yes. I think we all want to say yes, but his people are telling him, and just like they're telling us, no. So he probably won't be. So it's nice that he's aware of what's going on, but maybe he's too aware. Maybe he just needs to leave it up to the baseball professionals. What's your thought on comments from owners talking about kind of the inner workings of how the sausage is made?
Yeah, too much influence is, I think, what it really boils down to. And I think that this is something that can be a hindrance for franchises for decades. And so we talk about the San Diego Padres and ownership change plus some market changes with the Chargers ditching them really changed their perspective, and they went all in. I think one of the funnier ones that doesn't get brought up enough because it's a very proud fan base is the Los Angeles Dodgers. You think about the Dodgers now, and there's just this juggernaut that is going to win the West every single year unless the Giants play way over their head and have the career year. Nobody really brings up the name Frank McCourt when it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, do they? Because the Dodgers were really a flailing franchise for a very long period of time after the success of the late 80s because of the ownership group that was in place at the time. Divorce happens, whatever all the circumstances, they have to sell the Dodgers. And then all of a sudden a new hedge firm group, with the poster boy of Magic Johnson comes in and takes over. Now they're the juggernaut that they are. I think if you have an owner that won't get out of the way and is too stuck in the roots of their own system, it's only going to continue hurting the franchise until somebody new comes in, because you just can't bank on them having an epiphany to, I'll get out of the way, I'll let the sausage factory run itself, and then it will create a better product.
Yeah. Between 1997 and 2012, the Dodgers went to the postseason 4 times in those 16 seasons. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But new ownership comes in, and all of a sudden now the Dodgers are what they are. And people just act like that's always the way it's been. The ownership situation has such a huge influence on sports franchises, and bad ownership can totally hold back and hold a franchise hostage. And, every time Dick Monfort comes out with these quotes, it's hard not to bring up that conversation. That's the tough part about it. So I'm hoping that, some things change with it, but ultimately there might just be way too much influence going on there, and that's what really hurts the Rockies at their core.
Truck day is come and gone. Pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting next week.
Yeah.
Minor leaguers are already there. Position players are going to be reporting on February 20th. Fans are going to be showing up. I mean, they're there now to watch a lot of this stuff go down on some of the backfields. Games start on February 25th. So for anyone, whether you are in Salt River Fields, watching some of the actual games that begin on February 25th, or taking in the backfield, let's give you a quick little rapid fire. Who's a top hitter as far as prospects is concerned you're going to want to look at? What's the name?
Got to start with Veen.
Zac Veen. Who's the top starting pitcher to keep an eye out on?
I want to see Kaufman. And also, I want to see just how far the progress was with Case Williams last year, how much that carries over.
Top reliever to be watching.
I mean, the Riley Pint story, first and foremost, but the stuff is still what made him a number 4 overall pick, so Pint.
And then, because it might be the most fun position to watch because you're seeing so much, top catcher.
Definitely Drew Romo, but honorable mention to Braxton Fulford. I mean, defensive acumen, I see an Austin Hedges, Jeff Mathis, long career as, a great backup catcher that could be there for Braxton Fulford. So somebody that I think Rockies fans should get acquainted with.
Yeah, they seem to love him. And again, just knowing him being added to the Arizona Fall League roster, like that doesn't happen for a guy who was only drafted, like a year prior. So
flies under the radar because all the eggs are in the Romo basket, but Fulford's a good player, man.
Yeah. Ronical Palma, the Rockies quietly have a really good catching core. And one of those guys that there's just no way he's going to stick at catcher.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit. You kind of get a Jordan Pacheco situation going on. Hunter Goodman, there's no way. What's the over-under on games he catches at the big league level?
Oh, man. I'm going to go
12?
Like, are we talking career?
Career, yeah.
Career? Yeah, I'm going to go under, let's say under 16 and a half.
Okay, so he's, yeah.
But so the good part about this, though, is it's the bat that is bringing Hunter Goodman into this conversation in the first place. Dude can hit. And dude hit through all 3 levels last year. So he probably won't be able to stay a catcher if there's any changes to the way that the catching position is affected by the automatic strike zone. If that ever comes up, yeah, maybe then there's Hunter Goodman catcher world. But for the most part, he's probably going to be a first baseman. But he looks like he's going to be a first baseman that can mash. So that's pretty sweet. I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with that. There's not too many guys that when you have those serious questions about their catching ability behind the plate end up staying there. I mean, like Tom Murphy is like one of the more recent guys where you go, is he gonna be able to stick? He's got a really good bat, and he did. He was able to stick it out, and he's had a decent little career there with the Seattle Mariners. But usually, if you need to come off the position, you just got to come off the position, and that's fine because he can rake, he can hit. Totally. You want his bat in the lineup, so it will be interesting to see how he goes. Riley Pint, I do like that one. To keep an eye on him. I'm interested in Nick Mears. I think he was a nice buy low candidate from Pittsburgh. He could be interesting going forward. A lot of decent starters to keep an eye on. Again, we'll be talking about plenty of this throughout spring training. I am interested in seeing Grant Levine a little bit too, because he made some good adjustments this last year, and I think he's someone to watch and say, could he be a thing now? He didn't get put on the 40-man roster. I was surprised by that, but maybe next year he does. He didn't get taken to the Rule 5, so maybe next year they actually put him on.
Man, 6'4", 220, dude needs to find his thump. That's like Levine is a very good player. He's turned himself into a good on-base machine, but you got to see that slugger. Like that's going to be the real thing that you need to see with Grant Levine. He still is yet to crack double digits in a single season for home runs, and the dude is built like a house. Yeah. So like if he can just find that pop, that might be the best first baseman in the system. But that's already what's put Hunter Goodman so far ahead in this conversation. Yep. So he's definitely one to watch. And I will throw just a quick little nod to Josh Rogers. He's going to be an interesting one because he's somebody that's really remade himself. He's a bit of a spin rate darling, but there's not many guys quite like that in the system for the Rockies, so he's going to be an interesting case to watch.
I think he's like Ty Block 2.0 a little bit, but with some more upside.
Yeah, well, I think that the upside is there's been some changes while Ty Block has remained just a productive thumber. Okay. That's kind of the career arc for Block. Rogers will be interesting to see what he is in there.
I'm with that. I like over on Purple Row, you guys are highlighting the top 30 prospects in the organization. Chris McMahon came out yesterday. Are you going to be doing any of those? Are you writing up on anyone?
No, so that's Jeff. That's Jeff's baby over there. But I try to dovetail on it a little bit, and right now I'm doing a series on 3 prospect questions with each.
I love this series. Article. Yes.
So it's really expanding on Jeff Aberley's baby of the top perps, but I'll be doing the Pebble report all season long. That's going off of this list. So. This is a good time over at the website. And I want to give a shout out to Skylar Timmons and his column because he's doing the life and career of Don Baylor right now.
I love that.
And that got off to a great start. So I think that's one that everybody should be checking out.
Visited Don Baylor's gravesite when I was in Austin.
Oh, really?
Which was just, again, random. Picked Austin. Airfare was like super cheap.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit warmer there. All right, let's do it. I need to take my first vacation literally since I've been working at what was BSN Denver is now DNVR since 2018. Yeah. So said, okay, I'll go down there. He's buried in the Texas State Cemetery. alongside Dr. Bobby Brown, who was president of the American League for a while. Got his doctorate while playing with the New York Yankees and winning 4 World Series.
Really?
Like, impressive dude.
That's cool.
Cedric Benson's there, who I didn't realize was a minor leaguer for a couple of years, like a 12th round pick out of high school by the Dodgers. And Willie Wells, a Hall of Famer. So that was kind of neat, and paying my respects to Groove there. That was kind of neat. So so
that's really cool.
I come back from vacation and I'm like, oh man, he like read my mind. He wrote exactly what I would have loved to have read. So thank you, Skylar. I mean,
it's really
he's
great.
Right there.
Yeah,
he's great. I love that. And I love your series, as you said, will a center field candidate emerge? And you go, is that center field candidate going to be Zac Veen? Or are you believing what the Rockies are essentially saying? He's a corner outfielder. Just stop. Move on.
Veen is capable of playing center field, but it goes back to how Carlos Gonzalez was treated back in the day. We're going to save his legs because we need the most out of this bat that we can to be an anchor for our lineup, and he's going to be okay in center, excellent on the corner, so why don't we just play with his strengths? I think it really comes down to really how much were the changes that Bretton Doyle made in the second half last year sustainable. Yeah. And we need to kind of start seeing some prove-its from Benny Montgomery. Everything is there for Benny Montgomery to take off. It just needs to be done over the course of a full season. So it's getting clarity on what the future of center field is. I think that's the theme for 2023.
I'm with it. The theme is that we're going to be seeing a lot more of you this year. I'm hoping.
That's so. Good. You know where to find me.
We're ready.
I do.
I do.
Wear your sunglasses and give me an invite.
I'll see if I can bring you some extra shady rays. We'll see if some fall off the back of a truck. Plug away. Let people know at KDub, KDUB 1988 on Twitter.
Yep. And you can find me over at Purple Row. I'm going to be there every Monday. We're going to be doing a little bit different when it comes to the Pebble Report. That's going to be linked with my Rock Pile column. So find me on Twitter, talking baseball or just making really dumb jokes, and then find me over at Purple Row, KDub 1988.
And I should have asked you this off air. The Pebble Report podcast, because
unfortunately the Pebble Report podcast is no longer a thing.
It was kind of a DJ LeMahieu situation where, you know what, you didn't want to pony up, the opportunity for Mr. Justin Wick, and so now he's going to go off and be a dude. With Baltimore. He's going to the AL East, where guys go to become dudes.
Justin Wick, first of all, is joining in a very elite group of crossovers between the Baltimore Orioles and Colorado Rockies. Right now, I think he is the best left-handed pitcher for both organizations.
True.
Maybe the best pitcher. It depends on how you feel about Jeremy Guthrie. So unfortunately, with some of the stuff with Fox Media, podcasting is a little bit tougher these days, and also Justin is off to bigger and better things. So no Pebble Report podcast this year, but I will be helping out on Affected by Altitude, the other podcast.
There we go. Network. Oh, wow. Okay, I like that.
Yep. I'll be popping by.
2 mega powers. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Max,
it's going to be a partisan effort.
That's great. I like that. I'm down. I'm excited. We'll make this work. This is going to be good. Yeah, check us out on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. At Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at. This has been quite momentous, but Kenneth, you know what they say about momentum because you're a baseball guy. That's why I know you know.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's only as good as your next show. So we will talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube.